Welcome to White Rice, Brown Rice. Let's dig into the flavorful mix of interracial relationships. From cultural quirks to family dynamics, we're serving up fresh perspectives on love, laughter, and all things Asian Caucasian. So grab your chopsticks and forks because it's time to mix it up.
I have my glasses that I got from the Asian market
They're
last week.
sweet.
I feel like a true podcaster. Like, don't you feel like when you see podcast videos, they have glasses, and the more homeless you can look, the more of a podcaster you are. But you have to have cool glasses.
Yeah, those aren't practical.
No, they're not at all. And I actually look ridiculous in that. But I wanted the
I think the
most
front
Asian
profile is better than the side.
side, but you
Yeah.
can see the gold on the side.
Yeah. Show the front where it has the 3.
Yeah, I went for like trying to find the most Asian glasses I could find. And
Those
it
are.
was like,
I think my sister has a pair.
yeah. The girls put them on and we started calling them Yoko Ono. Because, she always wears those cool glasses. But today we're actually talking about not glasses, but relationships and growing up and how our parents kind of treated relationships. So we left off with the cliffhanger last episode of me divulging how my mom would know if I had sex. And it's the weirdest thing. And even as an adult, I don't understand it. She told me when I was young, and I don't know how young, that she would know when I had sex by my underwear.
The jizz
I guess.
has to be.
I don't know. But like, you just put your underwear back on after sex? I've never done that in my life.
If you had to run and go.
Because when you're 16, you just. So I was terrified by what was going to happen
In your underpants.
in my underpants. Will a little fairy come out and be like, yeah, it's and announce it to the world that I was like a slut or something? I didn't know. So you want to know how I resolved this problem?
How did you
Well, you
resolve
know
it?
me, Miss Independent, like, you're not going to tell me what to do. I started doing my own laundry.
I thought you stopped wearing underwear.
Oh, that would have been a different scenario. But no, I'm one of those people that have to wear underwear. I don't. Freaks me out.
Yeah.
I know people that don't. I'm just like, I don't know how you live with yourself. So I started I want to say like at 12, I started doing my own laundry because of that reason. That, and I didn't want her to dry my Abercrombie and Finch pants and shrink them. But so I had this idea that something like crazy happens.
You should ask her now that you're older.
I don't even think she would remember, to be
You
honest.
should ask her.
But it stuck with me. I wasn't even really, the funniest part was I wasn't even having sex at that time, but I'm like, I'm going to just start doing laundry now so nothing seems weird when I decide to finally do it.
Yeah.
So I just started doing my own laundry, and I never realized what actually would have happened. But maybe it is. Maybe it's dropping the load in your panties.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
That has to be it.
So my mom growing up, she was Catholic. We didn't talk about sex. So she just used fear tactics. If a penis touches your vagina in any way, you're going to get pregnant. That one pregnancy scared from like dry humping.
Crap.
Inside, inside, but I still thought like, oh man,
Yeah.
give me a pregnancy test. I'm a virgin, but freaking the Virgin Mary. But that's what it was for me. So there was no rules about dating. She never said you have to wait until you're such and such age. It was just fear of sex. Just don't do it.
Did that make you more curious? Or
No.
more rebellious?
I think I'd say more rebellious, but I was a good girl. I wasn't actually a good girl, but like I always wanted to be portrayed as. So my rebellion was like, how can I push the limit without stepping over the line? So like,
Right.
I'm not going to actually have sex, but what else can I do?
Right. How close to the boundary
Close to
line.
the
Yes.
boundary, right? Yeah. So I'm definitely not raising my girls that way
Right. Well, we know better.
because everything was hidden. Everything was like shameful. It's like the Catholic shame, right? So everything, even if it was like making out with somebody, it was like, you're going to hell and you feel bad about it. But if I had a boyfriend, she didn't care. There was like not talk about that. There was not talk about expectations in relationships.
Right.
It was just do as I do. Was it the same for you? Did your mom fear the fear of God in you?
Not the fear of God, and she never used religion. Our religion never.
You're Buddhist.
Yeah, we're Buddhists. It was never brought up in that manner. It was a conversation that you're not dating.
It wasn't allowed.
Yeah, it was not allowed.
Got it.
There are no boy contact, like phone calls, texting. Well, texting didn't.
We didn't have phones back then.
Right. My mom would insist on showing me pictures when I was young, before I was 18. And it would be pictures of possible suitors that lived in the United States. And they were normally cousins. And they were in school to either become a doctor or they were doctors already. And she said, honey, look, he nice. He had nice smile. He gonna be doctor. Maybe you talk to him. We call him sometime. And I'm like, no, that is your brother's wife's cousin's son. Like, they're related to us, Mom.
Mhm.
That's our third cousin. Not happening. And she's like, no, it's okay. You marry cousin even better. I'm like, no, it's not better. No. So she always threw on the arranged marriage because like 3 of my siblings were all arranged marriages.
Oh,
And that was the plan for the rest of us.
okay. That's very cultural.
Yes, it's very
Yeah.
cultural. And and the only talk we ever had about sex was when I was about 15. And she said, and it wasn't even sex. Like I don't even know how it came up. She just said, whenever your dad, he touch me, I make a baby.
So fear again.
And I go,
Thought every time you had sex, you were going to get pregnant.
well, then I thought, geez, dad only touched you 11 times in 30 years?
That's where your head goes.
Yeah. I was like, you didn't touch very much, did you? That's a sad life.
That's funny.
But yeah, no, there's no talk of sex or anything personal. There was no talk. It was just, you had to learn. My mom was like, you have to figure it out on your own.
And how was that for you growing up? Was that bad?
No, because I was a reader. So I would just go to the library and read shit and just figure it out.
Like romance Harlequin novels?
Yes.
That's how you learned
No,
about
I read
relationship and
Judy
sex?
Blume.
I've never read
I
that.
learned about my period. I read Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. That's
Is
how I
that
learned.
about a period?
Yeah, it's about the coming of age of a 12-year-old getting her period.
I've never read it.
Oh my gosh, it's the best book ever. They changed it because back in the day when I was reading it, it talked about the belt that you attach the pad to.
Oh,
Obviously, we don't do a belt and
right.
pad anymore. I think they
You
may have.
had the first edition.
I had the first edition. And I was like, oh, I need a belt. Oh my gosh. I don't know where I can find a belt to attach my pad to. It was very strange, but
Wow.
that's how I learned.
Okay.
I read books. I learned more about sex through more Judy Blume books because she has adolescent books
Uh-huh.
and it goes in pretty graphic details of sexual encounters
I
with
never knew.
Judy Blume, baby.
Oh, wow. I did not read growing up, as you can probably guess from the fact that I never read Judy Blume. But I feel like King has told me stories. That's how he learned a lot too, just about like American culture. He was a huge reader and he read like all of his sister's stuff. He read Babysitter's Club and stuff like that.
That's how I learned about American culture or Canadian Western society.
Yeah.
Was just through books. Like I consumed tons of books and just oh, that's what white people do in their house. I was like, wow, that's
Right.
so cool. So, but mind you, all my friends were white. I had no Asian friends growing up.
Yeah. So did you date? There was no Asians to date.
Oh no.
So you
And
just dated
I've
white too.
never been interested in an Asian. Ever. I don't look at an Asian man and wow, he's good looking.
Oh.
I think there may have been 2 in my memory, but it's always been like movie stars.
I had an obsession with Bruce Lee, though. Not sexually. I idolized him.
Well, he was the
Yeah.
Asian icon, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you had him or like Mr. Miyagi, whoever the founder was.
Like, or the
What,
kid
sorry?
from Goonies.
So yeah, I guess Bruce Lee or Mr. Miyagi. I think I would fall for Bruce Lee too,
Lee.
right?
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of Asian representation in movies back then.
No. I watched a lot of Asian videos with my mom. She'd get videotapes of Asian. Now think about it, I know it would be a soap opera, but she'd call it a movie, but it was a
Oh.
5-day movie.
Oh, okay.
And we'd watch from start to finish.
And none of those people were attractive to you because
No.
they would have been actors, right? Like
Mhm.
popular people.
No, they spoke in Chinese. I didn't understand what they were saying.
You don't have to understand them to think they're attractive.
No, did not. Never. It's was
weird.
attracted to any Asians. I don't know if it's because I watched how my mom and dad interacted.
And maybe
like,
that's why I
so
am
cool.
only attracted to Asians.
Yeah.
Got yellow fever.
Yeah.
That's funny. I mean, I wonder where that comes from. There's got to be some psychological stuff out there, right?
Absolutely there is.
But I'm sure that there's impressions that get put on you with
Mhm.
regards to what's attractive, what's not. And maybe because you grew up in a almost all white area, that's what you looked at growing up.
Yeah.
Right? When you start thinking about, when you start getting attracted to people in maybe middle schoolish age, when you start
Mhm.
feeling that, if you're only looking at white people, then it makes sense that you'd be attracted to white people, right? You were groomed in some way to look at the white
Yeah.
people.
I'm attracted to white older men.
Duh.
I know. My husband.
Did you have a teacher or something that you used to crush on?
I worked at an insurance company once and I crashed on one of the insurance agents. And I look back at pictures of him now. I'm like, oh my God. I thought he was cute. And I was in high school. Do you know what he looks like? Rich Buffa.
Big
Today, though.
Big surprise he looks like your husband.
Like dad bod,
Yeah.
balding, glasses. And I was in high school at the time. I was in 9th grade. And I just thought he was the most handsome man I had ever seen. That's so strange.
That is strange.
When you say it out loud, it sounds
Right.
I know you really loved your dad, so I don't think you have weird daddy issues. No.
Weird.
Maybe old white men were kind to us when we came to the country, and that's what.
Yeah, your sponsors, were any of them?
Mhm.
Yeah.
They were.
There you go. Maybe so you have this like hero complex.
Oh,
Like
like the old
we
white man.
figured it out.
Why do they have to be balding and have beer butt?
I have always loved bald guys. So maybe that's a thing. I don't know. So it's not about balding, it's about baldness. But when I was younger, I loved, and it was not popular back in the like 90s to shave your head, but there were those celebrities, or I remember Andre Agassi.
Mhm.
I went through a period where I didn't even like tennis, but his baldness
Was hot.
was so attractive to me. Yeah, I loved bald men my entire life.
Hmm.
Maybe that's my grandfather. He was always bald.
Yeah, it could be,
Right?
but
It
you
could
never
be.
know.
You never know.
That's where fetishes come up.
I don't think it's a fetish. I think
No,
it's
I know,
a
but that-
preference.
A preference, but I'm saying people have weird fetishes, especially Asian people. Not me.
Well,
don't
I
have
feel
a
like
weird
that's because you
fetish.
repress stuff. You gotta let your freak flag fly sometimes, you know? I think that's where fetishes come from. Like you repress, and then it's like, oh, I have to like eat toes. I saw this thing. I sent it to you. This woman was making $50,000 a year farting on her what is it called?
OnlyFans.
OnlyFans page. Yeah. 50 grand farting.
I think what's more disturbing is that we have people in society that will pay for that. And what we find, if you look at the studies,
It's older white men. Because I think older white
Men.
men have to repress their gayness. That's my guess, because it's not okay.
in Western
To be
society,
white and gay.
or to,
No,
mess around, like figure it
I
out
think
for
there are a
yourself.
lot of gay men out there that, for some odd reason, because they're older, the older generation, who are actually gay.
And they
that-
repress. They
yeah.
repress. Or at least bisexual. Maybe
Right.
they're not gay, but they're bisexual, but they have to repress that
Yeah.
gay part of them.
But I feel like just come on out. It's 2024. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Well,
Nobody cares.
people do care, unfortunately.
No.
Look at the state of the world.
Nobody
I wish.
cares.
I do think it's much better today than it was back in the day. Because I remember, again, when we were growing up, talking about relationship, talking about sex, did you know any bisexual people?
Like one?
You knew one. The stereotype where I grew up, bisexual people were either sluts that just do anybody. That was kind of the perception of the female bisexual. Or guys that couldn't admit that they were gay yet.
Oh.
So it was like you couldn't be attracted to two genders. Like the stereotype didn't allow you. It's like you just labeled a slut
Right.
or gay.
Yeah. I know in the Cambodian culture, being gay wasn't a big deal. Like, this is what they call it. Like, manakata. But here's the thing: men in Cambodia, when you're best friends, they hold hands.
Yeah.
Or they put their arms around each other. It wasn't abnormal to see that.
Male on male.
Male on
affection.
male affection.
Yeah.
So gays in the culture itself wasn't anything negative. I don't think I knew of any lesbian Cambos though. And even female on female like affection, it wasn't, the people weren't like, oh, what's going on? It was just you're friendly and you're
Well, in the white culture growing up, female, I could hug and kiss on my friends, and it's not anything
right.
abnormal, but two dudes couldn't do that. Right? They couldn't even hug one another.
Yeah. Well, I think the generation is changing.
I'm glad.
My oldest
Yeah.
with his best friend, when they get off the phone with each other,
Yeah.
they say, I love you
Oh, I love that for them.
every time.
That is the cutest thing.
They're like, hey, I love you, buddy. And he's like, yeah, I love you too. I'll see you later.
That is
I'm like,
so
you guys
great.
are so funny.
Look at how far
like,
we've come.
Constant I love yous. I'm like, good. You should tell your friend you love them.
Well, then you don't seek for validation in the opposite sex or in romantic love.
They
So that's
love each
great.
other.
At that age, that's so great.
It's so cute.
I love that for them.
Yeah.
So, do you feel there are parts of parenting with regards to relationships and sex that is hard for you because you didn't have it growing up?
No.
No? See, I'm not to the sex talk yet. My kids aren't old enough. But anytime I even say the word vagina to my kids, it feels weird inside.
Yeah.
And I've learned through some intensive therapy that is actually a good sign. It's just because it's not normal for my system because I wasn't raised in that type of house. Like my mother, I don't think I've ever to this day heard her say the word vagina. I don't even remember what we called it growing up.
We called it a kapit meal.
But what is that? Like, is
Vagina.
That, vagina. Okay. So in Cambodia, that's the legit term. It's not
Yeah.
like your pee-pee
No. No, we just called it as
or your winky.
no.
So I force myself through the discomfort and
Yeah.
talk. We've had the good touch, bad touch talk and things like that. But it is very uncomfortable for me, to be honest, because I did not have any of that growing up. It was like, nope, we just don't talk about it. Period. Threw some pads at me. Here you go.
Yeah.
I don't know what happens. Don't let a dick near your vagina. You'll get pregnant, even if it looks at it. Like,
Well, that's the difference in the older generation, right?
Yeah.
They use the fear tactics without actually giving facts and information and
Mhm.
having trust in your child
yeah.
to make the right decisions.
So growing up, everything that surrounded around sex and even body anatomy
Yeah.
was uncomfortable for me. Right. Even the exploration of it when I decided with consent to do things with other people, there was a bit of discomfort because I don't know
Yeah.
what the fuck I'm doing. Is this feeling
does this what?
Yeah.
Is
Is
this
right?
is this right?
Is this right?
Like, what is this whole? Dear God, it's Margaret. Am I supposed to put it in my butthole? You have to
Oh,
read the book
Judy
now.
Blume, I do. I will. It came out on a movie, right? So can I just watch the movie?
No.
Oh, okay. So anytime I have these conversations with my girls now, there's this discomfort that I've had to overcome.
Yeah.
And I know I'm doing the right thing when I feel the ick
Yeah.
in myself. Because I will not. Like, I'm breaking that cycle. Right?
Oh, 100%.
I will
It
not.
ends with us.
It ends with us. Not that kid. I just watched the movie. I did read that book. But yeah, breaking that cycle, like definitely going to have conversations, maybe a couple more years when they're a little bit older,
Yeah.
about
And we said
dating, sex, all of that.
Yeah.
What you should expect. I mean, we kind of have those conversations now, what to expect in a relationship, because even friendships,
Yeah.
they should make you feel
Navigating
good, not
Yeah.
feel funky, you know?
Yeah.
So when you actually had sex, did you ever go to your mom?
Hell no. They
Does
don't
mom know
know.
that you had sex to this day?
Oh, she only knows because I have children.
Okay.
Oh God.
So you've never had a sex talk even in adulthood?
Ever. She has uncomfortable sex talks with me now.
What's trying to mother you?
She will give me her opinion about our co-sleeping. And because Rich and I have our two beds, and
Mhm.
he's on one end, I'm on the other end, and then the kids are in the middle. And she has for years said to me, and the way she said it, and I'm going to translate to English, so it's going to sound funny, but she said, "What are you going to do when in the middle of the night your husband climbs on top of you and your children are there?" And I go, "He climbs on top of me? What are you talking about?" She goes, "When your husband needs some love and you have your kids."
Mm-mm.
I said, "My husband ain't climbing up on top of me in the middle of the night." Rick? She's like, "What are you talking about here?"
Gosh.
Yeah.
You
That's
just wake up.
That's
with, like,
the
a
only thing she said.
hard
And what
dick
I
on you.
and what I did learn that's normal in Asia, not normal. It happens in Cambodian culture where the husband obviously takes sex whenever he wants it. So
Right.
you as a woman need to be prepared. Is
Got it.
basically
So
what
it's not
she's
just the middle of the night. It could be whenever.
whenever they climb up on top of you.
Okay.
But that's the only conversation she's had with me about it. And my response is always, "My husband doesn't just climb up on top of me, Mom. That does not happen." Yeah. I was like, That's not how it works.
Hmm.
I consent to the climbing.
Right.
It's not just whenever he needs it."
Oh gosh. Could you imagine? Oh, I'm so grateful that I live in the privilege that we live in, where that is not my reality.
Right. Oh, well, I found out my cousin in Cambodia, that's how she had to marry her husband.
Because,
He raped her.
oh my God.
She was a virgin and he met her out or something, and he wanted to marry her, wanted to pursue her, and she said no. So he went to her house and raped her, and she had to marry him because she would have been damaged goods otherwise.
That is really
So
sad.
that's how she is married to this man and has a kid because he raped her. It's like, just kill him. Like, do some poison or like, you make the food.
Gosh.
Yeah. I learned that in college when I went to Cambodia. It was
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah,
That was a culture shock. I
for
was like,
sure.
oh,
And those are things that can just happen without
Yep.
recourse with the law.
no, zero recourse.
Wow.
It was just, you want to go to the police and tell your family,
Right.
expose your family to this. And I think the rape culture in Cambodia is not accepted, but very ignored.
Because
Like-
sex is a dirty secret.
I don't
Or
know if
shameful?
sex it's shameful. I would say more shameful.
Okay.
It's not for pleasure. It's
To make babies.
to make babies. Yeah. I don't know.
I always wondered, and I don't know if you ever had this thought, because your parents lived in a refugee camp,
Mm-hmm.
one room, right?
No walls. I highly doubt.
How
Like
how did they have sex? How was I
Conceived.
conceived
Exactly. Who was around? That's the question.
in between rice picking
In
and
the hut with the grandma
7 kids?
and the grandma and grandpa?
I
I
don't know.
don't know.
I feel like it was in the rice field somewhere. That's why I love rice so much. It has to have to do with that. I love white
Because
rice.
the egg got infertilized
Yeah,
by sperm.
in a rice field. I don't know. Something happened with rice because I love it a lot.
Well, I think most Asians do. Your infinity with rice, let me have a full meal. Oh, I have to wash it down with white rice.
If I don't eat white rice, my belly does not feel like I've eaten any food yet.
I feel that is a sugar addiction, right?
Yeah, carbs.
Carbs, right. It's a type of sugar addiction that leads to diabetes. But I don't understand it.
I know.
But I am not Asian and I was not raised in that environment.
But back to the whole refugee camp, and I was conceived in a refugee camp.
We
Like,
digress.
where's you banging? Like, that should be a question I asked my mom
I would love to know
before she
because I'm
passes.
so curious. And I'm not
Should
asking
call
my
her.
mother-in-law because that's why I started thinking about it.
Hello, Mom. How did that happen?
We're going to find out
I'll ask her.
because I'm so
That's going to be a
curious.
weird conversation.
Yeah, sorry for that. But
Or
I
she
can't
thinks
ask like my
it's-
in-laws. That's too weird.
Yeah,
But you could ask your mom for
I'll
sure.
ask my mom.
Yeah.
Maybe I have to take her to the casino first, loosen her up a bit.
Have you ever had public sex?
Yeah, what's public sex? Like outside?
Like where people could see you. And maybe not watching you, but like where people could if they happen in a car,
Balcony.
in a
Yeah,
balcony, right? Yeah.
car, yeah. Baseball dugout.
Movie
yeah.
theater. I don't
No.
know.
That Alanis Morissette song about as she's going down on you in the theater. I was like,
Oh,
I'm not going to be that hoe.
I love that song.
I love the
Not-
song.
But I always
you
think
don't
of
wanna
Pee
be
Wee
the hoe.
Herman when I think of movie theater.
Herman's
Yeah.
fantastic.
There's a movie coming out on his life, but you know he was busted for masturbating in a movie theater.
Yeah.
So that's why I think of it. But yeah, so on a balcony? Okay.
Yeah, but that's like normal. That's like basically part of your house.
Yeah, I mean, people could see. But that is about as like crazy it would get. You're not having sex in a party with people around you, like in a refugee type hut.
Negatory.
Got it.
There's never been another person in the room while I was having sex.
Okay.
That's never happened that I can remember.
But fair enough. So that's not the way you get down. Got it. Yeah. So lessons learned.
Yeah.
Number 1, there's no little elf in your underpants
That will come out.
that will come out after you have sex. Number 2, we have to do research on how you were conceived
In a refugee camp
in a refugee camp with
during
people
war.
sharing a
When
room.
they're starving, worked to death, and going like literally in a war.
Right.
Where did my parents find the time?
Or the energy.
Yeah.
'Cause if I'm starving, that's the last thing on my mind.
Right? Well, I feel like we grew up with sex more romanticized, like
Yeah.
bubble bath with like flowers and a
Sure,
lit
sure.
candle.
Rather
Whereas
just-
my parents, anyways, their sex wasn't a pleasure thing. It was just to procreate,
do the deed.
and that's it.
Well, maybe it was for your dad
Well, yeah, I
or
think
the
all
men,
men.
right? Yeah. Just like
Yeah.
wham bam, thank you, ma'am. So maybe that's how it happened.
And number 3, say vagina and penis
As
often
much
to the
as-
children.
To desensitize the ick.
Yes. The ick.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Hey, Inner Rice Pod, we had a blast mixing it up with you today. So use your chopstick or fork and go ahead and click that like and subscribe button. Also, follow us on social media to stay up to date.